Let's
Bro, I love
go.
that. Bro, I love that at the beginning of every single episode. The music gets me going. As Sam would say, it's provocative. And so, guys, welcome back. It's episode 59 of the Think Big podcast, which I love emphasizing the episode number we're at because it's just a testament to consistency. And I actually want to highlight the fact that we are not big names. We are not like superstars or anything like that to warrant this level of consistency. And we are still showing up anyhow. And I've had people come to us, and Alejandro, Sam, I know you get these messages where people say this is their favorite time of the week, tuning in on a Tuesday at 5 o'clock. This is their favorite podcast. This is their favorite show. And that feels absolutely amazing to hear. And I worry, like, man, what if we didn't keep going? What if we had stopped? The people that are getting value, they wouldn't be getting that value. So I want to say a big thank you to our listeners. Shout out to guys like Anthony Johnston. Shout out to guys like John Herr. Like, we really appreciate you guys showing up every single week, engaging in the comments, sending us DMs. Guys like Joseph, guys like Nick, people like Vanessa. It means the absolute world. And so tonight, we're going to be taking this episode very candid, very open conversation. I think I'm feeling a little inspired after what happened on X the other night, where Elon Musk brought back on. Elon's been like kind of breaking the internet and unlocking people. And he had a couple of people on, not just on X. He had a couple of people on, where was it? It was on Clubhouse, that app Clubhouse, where people get around and talk, have candid conversations. He had Alex Jones. And if anyone knows who Alex Jones is, I mean, he could be a very controversial or very contrarian thinker to the status quo. And this is not a man who will sit silently or quietly about how he feels. And so it was just opening up the space for a really cool fireside chat. And I thought it'd be amazing for us tonight to have that kind of fireside chat amongst the three of us, because believe it or not, although these are some of my best friends, I don't get to always talk to them every single day. In fact, besides like texting Alejandro and texting Sam a little here and there, we haven't had like a vocal conversation since last week's episode. Like, I actually have no idea what is happening in Alejandro's world, what's happening inside of Sam's world. So yeah, tonight we're going to be opening it up to a conversation, doing a little bit of a 2023 recap. I know I got some questions that I want to ask these guys about where they're at, what's going on with life. But before we jump into that, first off, Alejandro and Sam, how are you guys feeling today? Like, what are you excited about today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm honestly a little selfish. I like to hear about Sam's world. Sam's has a pretty interesting world. So for him to share like what's going on in his world as far as like, the fires and stuff like that, it's always going to be exciting. Even you, Marlon, it's crazy, bro. We actually never really sat down. I think we planned on it. We planned a trip to kind of sit down, mastermind. But we really don't know too much of what's going on in our personal life as far as like it's for like deep stuff and all that. But I find it really crazy. We've been doing this podcast for how long? For a year in a month now, and it's crazy, bro.
59
We actually
weeks.
haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we really never put time aside to actually talk about each other's personal stuff and issues and all that. We're just out here delivering value, bro, and giving back to the community, making sure we deliver every single time, no matter what's going on. So I'm super excited for today. I feel like this is just a little bit more of the campfire. I had my mom put the fire on. She has a fireplace here in Georgia, but the family's like all over there. So I'm like, you know what? Let me get some silence and hang out with the guys. That would have been dope. So I'm really excited for today.
Dude, I dig it. I dig it. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I think these things are critical to do to do what we're gonna do today, guys. We're it's gonna be a fireside chat. We're gonna talk about all the things that are going on in our lives and our businesses, but I think one thing that's really important is something that people run away from. And Marlon, I'm sure you see this with a lot of your coaching clients, is they maybe run away from recaps. They maybe run away from like, hey, like a certain amount of time has gone by for you to actually have enough information to see if things worked, if things went according to plan, if the goals were met, or did we fall short? And the reality is, a lot of people, I think, they run away from that accountability, they run away from that tracking. So I'm excited to do that today. But what's that going to look like today, Marlon?
It's gonna look like us sending Sam some AA batteries or some double D batteries or whatever batteries we need to send him. Because now that I'm aware of the fact that you never change your fire alarm batteries, I hear it every single time. And I was deaf to it. I'd never heard it until I forgot who called it out a couple of episodes, maybe like 20 episodes ago. And now I hear it every single time. But yeah, no, Sam, you are absolutely right. Also, Sam, did you do like a fire masterclass Zoom or something last night? Because Anthony Johnston in the chat is talking about how you were talking on how to find buyers through the family office. Like what when did you start breaking down some ninja level tactics like that, man? Why don't you invite us out to your masterclasses, bro?
Dude, I mean, well, so that is a fire strategy, finding buyers from family offices. But no, man, I mean, like I've been live all over the place. I actually went live today in a Tiffany High's community, teaching people about foreclosures and how to scale with some dope data and some dope unique niche motivation types. But bro, I mean, my thing with this is I have to like give enough value to be able to like summon you from like the ether, right? And my whole perspective is that you haven't shown up yet because I haven't delivered enough value. So what I'm going to do is this. I think eventually I'm going to do probably in Q1 a masterclass, like a signature masterclass. It's probably going to be about mindset. I think that if I deliver enough value that day, right then and there, you will just magically appear. You're like a mindset unicorn that I have to summon. And my take is this: you haven't seen it because I haven't been giving enough freaking value. So that's the issue, man. But dude, no, Anthony Johnson, thank you, man. I absolutely love it. It was yeah, and Pace absolutely crushed it too. That was a really cool call. But I want to get into it. I want to dive into this because again, like we're all so damn ambitious to set goals for the next year, for the next quarter, for the next month. We all say we want to go do XYZ amount of revenue. And Marlon, you and I are in a mastermind called the 1% Mastermind together. It's a very private, intimate room. And one thing that we've been doing every other week when we meet is we set goals. We set very specific goals, right? And it's easy to do that. It's easy to say, hey, I want to make another $50,000 in the next 2 weeks. That's super easy to say. What's not easy to do is once the 2 weeks is up, actually own up to the fact, did you do it? Where did you land? Did you fall short? If you did fall short, why? What can be fixed? What can be alleviated? I think that form of accountability is truly the thing that's missing for most newer entrepreneurs. Is we're so damn heavy on setting new goals, but I don't think that when the time's up, we actually do enough of the recapping and the auditing, right? I kind of look at this like when I get into these higher level rooms, what we end up finding is all these guys are very recap driven. They're very accountability driven. They're very, did we hit our numbers? Did we hit our KPIs? If not, what problems do we need to fix? So, but we're going to go into some personal stuff too, but let's do it, man. Let's dive in. Marlon, do you have a structure at all? Because you do a lot of these recaps, I know with your coaching clients. Do you have a structure at all that you want us to follow for tonight?
Yeah, so tonight, funny enough, we're actually going to move away a little bit from the structure, a little bit more open, candid conversation. It's going to be very much Q&A. I got some questions I want to ask you guys as we dive through it. But before we dive into at least the first questions I have for you, I do want to highlight what you just said as far as stepping into the higher rooms. And I want everybody listening to truly take note of this, that Sam mentioned when he goes into the higher rooms, these professionals performing at 6, 7, 8 figures of revenue level, they are very much driven based on their KPIs, based on their key performance indicators, based on things that they can measure. So when they set their goals, what you're going to often find is that their goals are never set without also creating some form of a project or process along with it that they can control, because the goal is the result. And it's very difficult to control results. However, it's a lot easier to control inputs. And when we identify projects that we're working on and we identify processes, we can actually begin to implement what are the inputs? How can I include and schedule these inputs? The time, right? Focus time to go ahead and make these inputs happen, whether that's making calls, whether it's creating marketing content, marketing material, whether it's upping your ad spend, raising private capital, whatever it is. If you're able to identify what the actual activity is, from there, you're able to increase the likelihood. You can't guarantee it, but you can increase the likelihood of success because you're controlling inputs. And Sam, you said that they are very heavy on accountability. And earlier today, funny enough, maybe about 2 hours ago, I was doing some research of my own for my own coaching business. I'm constantly trying to understand the human psyche better. I like to learn from other coaches, see what techniques are working in their programs, what works for other people. And I want to collage the best of the best of the best to then be able to deliver something even better, or really just weed through all the garbage. And I came across a gentleman, and he mentioned something. This guy's actually the guy that trained Kobe Bryant, Serena Williams, like the royal Spanish family. I mean, like, he's that dude. Like, Tony Robbins is that dude. He's that dude that you never heard of because Tony Robbins' name is so loud. But like, this is like that guy that's like just right there as well. He just didn't care about the fame as much, but he's in those rooms. And he said accountability should be inevitability. If you have the right people in your corner, so in my case, right, I have Sam, right, the 1% mastermind. I've got Sam and a few other guys inside that mastermind that when we tell each other we're going to do something, that accountability from the right people turns into an inevitability. In other words, it's going to happen because I have the right people there. And a part of my personal 2023 recap, and even a portion of 2022 recap, was I didn't have a lot of accountability in my life because I was always afraid to let people know what I was doing. I was afraid to let people know what I was doing because the people I would tell wouldn't necessarily be people that added any form of external positive pressure to make me perform. And they wouldn't provide any sort of useful feedback. So all it ever felt like I was doing when I was sharing it with those people was kind of just talking and just putting it out there. And then if it didn't work, I felt bad. Versus when you have the right people, when you have a Sam or an Alejandro and you share with them your vision, what ends up happening is they keep reminding you, and they also provide you with resources and also that additional resourcefulness through thinking about it differently, giving you new perspective, maybe pointing out some opportunities or even providing you with opportunities that you didn't have for yourself. All of these things come together so that the right accountability partners actually create the inevitability of you following through on the process, on the project, which increases likelihood that the results will occur. So, Sam, I just wanted to say that because you inspired that tonight, bro. Like, that was this, you speak, and then my brain is like, whoa.
That's so good, dude. That's it. I'm gonna piggyback off that. I'm gonna fucking piggyback off all this shit today. So, excuse the language. I'm on it, guys. You guys know when I start cussing, it means that like I'm amped up. So here's the thing that you said something that's really important. You would share an idea, a vision, a mission, a goal, something that you feel ambitious about with someone who's not going to meet it with positivity or reinforcement, or they're not going to amplify you. And that sucks, right? Giving a goal and mission. 2024 is coming up. A lot of you guys are setting goals. I know each of these guys are. I am. We're all setting ambitious, scary goals. And some of you guys are afraid to share these goals with people because you know the reaction will be maybe neutral. It may not be bad, but it may be neutral, right? And that can take the air out of things. I want to actually highlight something a little bit more dangerous, guys. What happens when you take those ideas and those goals and those ambitions to someone who's not neutral, but they're negative? And this is the power of, in my opinion, learning who to take your goals to, who to take your mission to. Because when you care about something really, really strongly, right? Like your ambitious goals for 2024, all the shit that you want to do in life to transcend your family's capabilities across the world, to amplify your business, your personal self, your relationships, all these things. Some of those things may be risky. Some of those things may not be highly favored by people in your circle. So I actually do want people to be a little bit more cognizant of, one, be willing to speak your truth. But also, this is something that I've learned, Marlon. Don't take your truth to someone if you know that they're just going to try to tear it down. Because what you're doing is you're giving them ammunition, you're giving them leverage and power over you. And this is something that, Marlon, you know that I've worked on for a while now, for ever since I've known you. And that is my ability, working on it constantly, to disconnect from giving a damn about what certain people that I look up to would say. And that is because I understand that a lot of the people that I look up to that I would share these visions with, it's not that they don't actually want the best for me, but these people are incapable sometimes of amplifying you. If that means your version of success doesn't serve theirs. There are people in this world who will amplify you to no ends as long as your success serves them. And the second that your success may not serve them and they see a different path that you're going down, they may just say things. They may plant seeds that are going to result in you just being like, oh, well, shit, I feel pressure here. Maybe I should come back to what I thought, what I was doing before. And what's really happening is people have this natural tendency to corral you into the lane they want you to be in. And it's up to you to decide if that's a lane that you want to be in. If the answer is no, you want another lane entirely, great. Be careful who you provide that leverage to, that power to. That's why, like, for me, Marlon, you know this, like, I've got a business that's going to crush, and I'm not very vocal about it right now. I am not vocal about it at all. You and I talk about it all the time, and it's probably the greatest thing that I'm going to do in the next couple of years. But the reality is, why am I not doing that? Because I am super focused on the mission. I understand what it's going to take to succeed. We are amplifying it every single day internally. And most importantly, I understand that for me to succeed at it, I have to limit all the voices that could potentially influence any decision I make. So the very few people that I take it to are the people that I know who have my back. The people I know who are going to amplify me, hold me accountable, and root for me to win no matter what. And most importantly, no matter if it serves them or not. Marlon wants me to be a freaking billionaire, regardless of if he makes money off of it. He just wants me to be the best version of me possible. And it's same. I want Marlon to be, and I know he will be, the greatest mindset speaker, trainer, thought leader on earth, because I'm psychic and I see the future. I just know this is going to happen. And whether or not I win from that is irrelevant. It is completely irrelevant. I want him to win because it's him becoming the best version of himself. So I had to say that. I'm so sorry. I want people to feel okay in protecting your freaking energy. That's a lesson that Marlon taught me. I was starting to let all these other people affect my energy. And then you taught me that. Protect the freaking energy.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? It's cool that I got to pass that lesson on to you, because Alejandro is the one that passed that lesson on to me. And that's actually was one of the very first conversations Alejandro and I ever had on the FaceTime. When he and I, the very first phone call he and I ever had was a FaceTime call that probably went 2 or 3 hours. And we were just talking about how important it is to protect your energy. And Alejandro literally invited me into his bat cave. And I was hanging out with him in his bat cave. This is the coolest place ever. And this guy is tranquil. He is at peace. And it's so very interesting to meet people like that. So I want to know from each of you, 2023, we're ending it. We're December 12th. There's less than really 2 weeks left in the month, 2 weeks left in the year. And as you reflect and you look backwards, I'm curious as to what your Masagi was this year. And for people that aren't familiar with that term, Masagi is a Japanese term for each year you do something that is very difficult. It's a difficult task that defines your year, because quite frankly, they understood culturally that growth occurs through discomfort. And there's an epidemic, right? The highest form of addiction in this country, it's not cell phones, it's not pills, it's comfort. People are addicted to comfort. So I'm curious for you, what was your most difficult challenge this year? And I wanted to know from a personal standpoint what your most difficult challenge was. And then from a business standpoint, what your most difficult challenge was. And on top of that, right, this is going to be a layered question. Was that difficulty something that you had knowingly walked into on purpose, or was it something that came up as a result of simply being on the journey? I'm just curious to get the perspective. And you guys maybe take a moment or two to think about it. Maybe you already know the answer, because for the people in the audience, I did not prep them with these questions beforehand. So I genuinely want to know these answers for myself of what their personal challenge was, what their business challenge was, and ultimately what especially as you went through it, what did it teach you, right? Like what did you learn? What was the outcome of you having gone through it?
Alejandro, you want to go first or me?
Oh, you can go, Sam. You already pumped up.
Let's do this. Well, he said business and personal. I'm gonna start with personal.
Mhm.
That gives you some time, and then tell you what. I'm gonna hand off the mic to you. You go into your personal. We'll go back. I'll do business. You do business, and we'll just keep rolling. So I'm gonna talk about the personal one. So someone mentioned it. Colin said Sam's KPI masterclass was fire. Dude, thank you so much for being there. I actually talked about this a little bit on the KPI masterclass. I have no freaking clue how we went from KPIs to the shit that I dived into. But in that moment, Marlon, I was able to feel okay and feeling vulnerable. And I had people around me that I felt like actually gave a damn, and they were resonating with what I was saying and how I was talking, how I was presenting. And it allowed me to open up about an issue that had happened this year. It's something that you're very familiar with. My personal issue that I've had to, and I didn't realize, guys, that I was going through this the entire year. Like, this is a critical thing. You can go through shit personally and not even realize that this was happening. 8-9 months of the year, I had no freaking clue that this was happening until the very end of the year. And I realized all the dots are connecting now. All the shit that I've been feeling all year, all these little tiny little universal things that are happening sporadically throughout the year, they're all crescendoing to this moment. And this moment was highlighted to me by a good friend of all of ours, Donovan. And Donovan, he and I have had a very unique young relationship. We're very new to each other still to this day. But we've hit it off so amazingly. And one thing that I've struggled with, Marlon, is that I've struggled owning my success. And I've been called out for this in my life. And it's just something that I know that I do. I tend to take all the success that I ever have, no matter what it is, no matter how great it is, no matter how hard I've worked for it, no matter how hard I've sacrificed it. And because the federal service game and the government will do this to you, you will give all the great things you do, and you will never own it for yourself. What you instead do is you take a step to the side and give it to your mentors, give it to the people who you believe helped influence you. And so what I ended up doing for the last 2 years, I'm 2 years into this game now, is that I've understood that every step of the way, no matter what I've done, I've never once taken a moment to own my own successes. Every single time. I've always had a thought process. I don't know if it's inherent. I don't know if it's genetic. I don't know if it's a freaking default. What I've done is I've constantly taken all these successes and I've given away ownership. And I've said, it's not because of me, it's because of them. And guys, don't get me wrong. Like, I believe in humility. I believe in honoring the folks who've sacrificed for you to be here today. But I'm starting to learn that if you do that too much, if you never hold any of that honor for yourself, you're defeating yourself. You can only go so far, because every success, every moment of pride, you end up just giving away. And what ends up happening is, over a long enough time period, you've convinced yourself that nothing you do is on your own merit, that everything you do is because other people. And then here's what's dangerous. What if you start giving that power and that ownership and that honor and that pride to the wrong person? What ends up happening is it cripples your ability to continually evolve. It cripples your ability to grow in new ways. So here's what explicitly happened, guys. I have a mentor who I love, who I truly love. And this mentor I will always be grateful for. I went to this person and I want to share a moment of tremendous growth with them in business. Now, like, guys, I was at this point about 1.5 years in the game. I'm 2 years in now. I was about 1.5 years in the game earlier this year. And I went to them and I said, hey, you've done so much for me. I've now stepped away and I have trailblazed and I've taken risks and I've bet on myself and all these things have happened. Here's my growth. And I want to share this moment with you because I am feeling true pride of it. Here's the problem. The growth that I had, Marlon, did not serve this mentor, did not serve this mentor's bottom line. The growth that I had served me and my family and my loved ones, but it didn't serve them. And then what did that mentor do? Consciously or not, I think this person's smart enough to know that it was conscious. They used very unique wording and phrasing to try to corral me back into the lane that worked for them and not for me. And then this is what was really kind of critical at the time. They said something to the effect of, you're a year and a half in, this is all great. Make sure it's not a fluke. Don't get ahead of yourself. It might just be a fluke. You may have just gotten lucky. And the way they said it, right, very specifically in the moment, was hyper intentional. And I realize that now because now I'm starting to think rationally about it. I realize that now that was so intentional to keep me in a specific box. Donovan's the one who actually pulled me to the side. He said, dude, your energy's off. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, I know I want to grow, and I don't want to do these risky things out here. And I see a path to success. I see a trajectory working there. But now I started self-defeating. I started telling Donovan, I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure that I'm ready to hire a CEO, hire a COO, have a C-suite, right? Become a formal shareholder. I don't think I'm ready for that because I'm only 2 years in. And he's like, what do you mean? Why does you being 2 years in have anything to do with anything? And I said, well, I just want to make sure it's not a fluke. Donovan cuts me off. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about, a fluke? You think 2 years of success back to back to back to back in every way that you've done it is a fluke? And he called me out. He's like, Sam, who the fuck told you that? I told him. He's like, you realize that person is trying to just corral you into a position that feeds them. And then what ended up happening, I didn't realize it, man. Throughout this year, I've been presented with tons of amazing opportunities that were based on my own merit. And incrementally, I have shied away from taking them because I was concerned that I wasn't worthy of them, that I didn't deserve them, that it was a fluke. And I realize now all those things were seeds that were planted to stop me from growing in the way that served me because they wanted me to grow in a way that served them. And thanks to Donovan pouring into me, he even sent me this amazing book, 10X is better than 2X. And it goes to show, and he had this amazing note on it. And it really hit super hard for me in that moment, that little gift note that he sent out. And it said something to the effect, your contributions to society and to the marketplace have nothing to do with how much time you've been in, but how much innovation you've brought. And Sam, you've innovated probably more than anyone who's been in as short as you have. And he basically poured into me and told me I need to start owning my own success. And Marlon, I didn't realize that this was the shit that was default in my wiring happening throughout this year. But by the time Donovan made it very clear, bro, you're hurting yourself right now. You've got all these opportunities that you can capitalize on that will catapult you, but you're defeating yourself because of seeds that were planted not by your hand, but someone else's. And when people plant seeds, they're not planting seeds usually for your success. They're usually doing it for their own. They're trying to reap a harvest of their own later down the road. And in the last 3 months, I've had to go through a lot, just kind of mindset-wise personally, in terms of owning what I've done, owning my success, owning the fact that it wasn't a fluke, owning the fact that, yeah, we actually have a CEO picked out, and this person's going to run a company that's going to make me millions a year, and I'm going to go and do the next thing. And I'm speaking on 30, 40 stages next year. I have earned that success because I'm working my ass off. So Marlon, I know it's a weird thing to say. It's kind of ethereal. My big personal journey this year, the journey that I was on, thing that I've accomplished, hopefully, and I think will continue to accomplish, is owning the fact that everything that's happened so far is not a fluke, and owning the fact that everything that's going to happen in the future won't be a fluke either. So that's a little bit about me, man. And I want to share more, but I don't want to hog up all the time.
Sam, first off, thank you for sharing that. I actually took some notes over here on the side just based on the last bit you said, as far as when someone else is planting seeds in your life, typically it's for their benefit, not for yours. And so I want to know in the comment section, I need every single person that's watching right now, every single person that is tuned in right now. If you just got value from what Sam said, I need you to be vocal in the comment section right now. Because if you're not vocal in the comment section, I will never get Sam to talk about this kind of stuff again. I will never get him to open, because you all know Sam's tactics. You all know Sam would much rather be up here talking KPIs, talking scale, that he doesn't normally dive into the mindset. He doesn't normally dive into the personal. So if you're getting value from this, I need to be able to have tangible evidence, because I'm going to screenshot the responses. I'm going to screenshot the fire emojis. I'm going to screenshot you guys saying this is valuable for us to hear these sort of thoughts and this kind of conversation. So later on, I can bug Sam and say, hey, we got to have another one of these fireside chats because the people need this. So, Sam, thank you so much for sharing that, man. And
Yeah,
I
dude.
want to open
I'm
it
gonna
up.
real quick. I before we pass off to Alondra, I want to say this, man, and thank you guys. Like it's Marlon's right. I don't talk about this shit. I really don't. You guys know me. If you've been to my masterclass, I talk about business. I show you guys how to make money and scale it. It's not really something that I talk about, especially about what I'm going through mentally. This has become a very unique and safe space, especially with Marlon to be able to dive into this stuff. So I do appreciate that. One thing that I want to say, man, is this is the result of the mindset growth that I've had this year. Marlon, you know this. You both know this is coming. You guys know it's coming by the end of Q1 or beginning of Q2. I'm at a point now, personally, man, where I have decided completely, and I have no bones about it. And this is the thing. We say we're going to disconnect from things, but we still feel that pressure, right? We feel like it's going to be hard to disconnect. You know what that means? You're not ready to disconnect. You're ready to disconnect when you feel nothing. And for me, the communities these certain communities that I'm involved in, I have completely made the decision to completely emotionally, mentally disconnect. And the beauty of when I say that, I actually feel it because I am ready completely to sail my ship, be the captain of an amazing fleet. And I can't wait to grow that and launch that with hopefully everyone here in 2024. Okay, I'm done now.
Yo, guys, by the way, Sam doesn't know that he's going to be doing this yet, but he's going to be one of the guests on my podcast again because we're taking a totally different direction with it in 2024. And Sam has no idea until right now that he's actually one of the prime avatars for the sort of guest we're going to be bringing on. So, Sam, I'm going to be seeing you I'm going to see you more than I already see you.
I'm scared and excited at the same time. But let's do it. Alejandro.
Alejandro.
Brother, personal mission growth problem.
The most like the hardest thing, right?
Yes, sir.
You guys talking? Okay, awesome. Man, I have a ton, but I'm going to start with just kind of the basics. I'm not going to try to open it to like more deeper fundamentals, understanding of it. Because trust me, man, I can get really deep with these things. But I'm going to keep it more basic. I think the hardest thing for me is, and I'm not a big fan of this word. And excuse me, heads up if I cough. I'm sorry. The weather here in Georgia is a little bit different. Threw me off from Texas. I don't like this word, but this is the only one I can find right now, and that is maybe I can find a word later on. But for now, I'm going to use sacrificing my happiness for uncomfortable growth. It was my hardest thing to do. Sacrificing my happiness for uncomfortable growth. Now, I'll define what that means a little bit. It's to grow as to grow as to grow as a human, to become the person you want to become, you have to do a lot of rewiring in your mindset. You have to rewire your brain, how you think, what you believe, literally everything. Right. So for me, back in the days, I was already happy for who I was at the time, which is, oh, great, this is what life's supposed to be. We're supposed to, drink, have fun, get drunk. Um, what else? Be average, I guess. And I think the big I'm pretty sure you guys had those days where $100,000 a year was like, oh my God, this is insane. So I was there, so I was there where I thought $100,000 was a pretty good thing. Well, until I made my first six-figure year, which I want to say 26, maybe. I think I was 26 years old when I first hit my six figures. But then I realized that's when I started learning about Uncle Sam. I was given like 30% or whatever that was at the time, um, of my hard-earned money from someone I've never met before. I was actually really confused and shocked. I think my biggest check at one time in 1 month when I was like 25, 26 years old was $18,000 in 1 month. And I saw like this huge chunk removed. Like I felt like I was stabbed in the heart. And this is not a rant about freaking paying your taxes, guys. This is just like you have to understand, like you're growing, you're understanding new things. So when I saw that huge chunk coming out of my check, I asked my manager, I'm like, "Yo, who is this? Who?" He was like, "Uncle Sam." I'm like, "Uncle Sam, who? Is that like the manager?" I was really confused. Is that the manager, the other manager in the other store? Who is this guy? I've been here 8 o'clock in the morning all the way to like 11 p.m. at night, midnight, sometimes whenever I have like a customer in the store. Here I go, like the happiest. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna do this for my mom, I'm gonna do this for my grandma, I'm gonna take a trip. Woof, gone. Someone I've never met before. So I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. So, and this is like back then, but like it goes back to like where we at this year, where if you guys honestly, I think 99% of people really don't do this. If you really sit down and question everything you are in your life currently, like depending if you're not are where you are today, and you don't sit down and meditate, ponder on who you are, like literally question everything you've done throughout your whole life, you probably will never understand how to grow. Because if you don't sit down and understand who you are as a person, that's stopping you from becoming this better version of yourself. How can you understand the steps to take to move forward in life? And this is where I literally had to rewire everything, all my beliefs. And I became, I think, Marlon, you call it like a stoic personality, I guess. Stoic personality. So like when I say I sacrifice my happiness, it doesn't mean I'm sad. It doesn't mean I'm depressed. No, it's never that. It's more like I'm just like a stable emotional place. Whether things goes like terribly bad, like what if that's a word, or it goes fantastic, I'm just the same guy. Yo, we just made $1 million this year. Oh, okay, that's great, man. Heck yeah, let's keep going. Yo, we just lost $100,000 this month. Oh wow, that's terrible. What did we learn from that? Let's keep moving. It's not a higher or depression. So I don't let. So if you question like, okay, I actually had this conversation with one of my business partner yesterday. He asked me a really good question. He was like, "What is happiness to you?" I was like, "That's a great question." And I said, "Happiness to me is being responsible for other people's happiness. That's what happiness is to me. Being responsible for other people's happiness." And I think he stalled a little bit. He was just like looking like, "Whoa, what do you mean?" And I asked him, "What is happiness to you?" And I think he defined something like him doing like a certain activity. And I was like, dude, at some point, if your happiness is like, oh, I'm making $20,000 a month, that's just going to be the same thing as when you open up your present for Christmas. It's like, oh my God, thank you so much. And then like 3 days later, it's like, oh wow, I got that for Christmas, and then you forget about it like a couple of weeks later. The same thing. But I've had this, and I'm going to get really personal here. I've had this belief since I was a little kid that I was sent here. I'm an angel from God to help people come out of dark places. This has always been my belief since then. Because if there's always people I've seen that's been in a really terrible situation, and all I did was just give them a helping hand, hug them, talk to them, and they're always come back out in a happier place. And that's always, and I've been doing that without any money involved. Now that I have money involved, oh my God, I can do so much more. Instead of helping one kid purchase a book bag at their school because they don't have enough money, now I can help 10, 20, 40, 50 people by donating to a school. And that's a never ending happiness. At least to me, is my definition of happiness. That's never ending, because there's always humans on this planet that are in need um, of something, something that they need to help them move forward in life. And that's helping people mentally, helping people financially. And this is like crazy. Like I had this person that was my mentor, and I was asking him, hey man, how much money is enough for you, where you would be quote unquote happy? And I think he told me like $300,000. And then like instantly that Uncle Sam check back in the day snapped like $300,000. Dude, that's nothing after taxes. Who are you going to help with that? He was like, oh, I'm just going to help my family. I'm like, oh, okay. And I didn't judge him by it. I thought, well, man, I want to get to millions and millions of dollars, bro. I want to become a billionaire so I can help millions of humans on this planet. I don't, and what's crazy is he was already making more money than I was. So I was like, okay, I already knew this person. It's it's something. It was someone that was put in my life for a certain stepping stone in my life. I know at some point I'm gonna have to go find someone else to help me get to a million because this person is stuck at $300,000 a year. I need to go find somebody else that's going to help me get to a million, and then up, 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 and continue going up. And of course, that happened. So that was one of the hardest thing. It's like rewiring and sacrificing the happiness. Like sometimes I literally just sit on my patio and just watch nature and think about how nothing really affects me anymore, like in a deeper emotional type of thing. Like if something bad happens, like I'm not sad. If something great happened, I'm not excited. It's weird. Some people may think it's, oh, that sounds kind of sad, or it sounds like it's messed up. No, bro. Like if you want to learn how to rewire yourself, you're gonna have to go through pretty hard times like this. And I don't consider it hard time, but the hard times is my definition of it is sacrificing who you thought you were before. So that was one of them for sure. Is just rewiring my brain and sacrificing the happiness for an uncomfortable growth. And then another one was leaving my leaving my past life behind alone temporarily so I can go find the light. And thank you, Marlon, for helping me complete the sentence because I was watching your Instagram reel today where you had everyone put their lights off in their phone. Dude, that was so magical. I sent you a text message. I'm like, bro, you got to keep posting stuff like this. You're gonna crush everyone else. Anyone doing reels about mindset, you're gonna crush it. When I saw that, I was like, wow, I watched that reel maybe about 15 times. I'm like, yo, this is dope, man. This is dope because I know you personally. So that video, it wasn't even a facade, bro. It was 1000% you. That's who you are. Is you want to push people to find the light. So when you told texted us like, hey, let's just talk about like a recap. I'm like, man, this is great. And then you told me right now, like, hey, what's something hard you've been going through? I literally wrote it down right here. I know you guys can see my book, but it's here. I wrote it down. It was like it's temporary leaving my past life, meaning my family, leaving my best friends. Like, hey, I'll be back. I have to go through a dark place. Dark place. Again, I'm going to bring the definition to these things because people instantly jump into conclusion like, oh, he means no. Dark place meaning you're lost. You're lost. You don't know where you're going. You're just going somewhere to find the better you, aka the light. Okay. This is what was one of the hardest things that I had to do because when I see like certain friends like saying these weird things like, "Oh man, I can't do this because XYZ." In my head, I'm like, dude, that's like an excuse, bro. Like, come on, man. If you want to become better, you have to change your belief system. Why? And what's crazy is, and this is a great segue to my last one. I don't want to take up too much time here, Marlon. Is I am I've learned not that I've not that I've learned, but I'm pretty much done trying to force people's belief and create debates and create disagreements and create arguments. I find that very exhausting. And I've changed that to, you know what? I'm just going to move forward as an example. And if I inspire somehow in the future, so be it. But if I don't inspire you, because I know I'm only chasing greatness, if I don't inspire you, then I guess it's just not your time yet. You haven't hit your rock bottom yet. It's not your time. And if it's not your time, who am I to try to change your beliefs if you're so stuck where no, man, I'm happy here. If you're happy there, fantastic. And this is something Pace Morby even told me on my first mastermind. I was like, yo, Pace, I feel like I'm running so fast, but I have parachutes behind me holding me back. And he was like, dude, you're the problem. Your partners are happy here. And you're over here. You're trying to push them to an uncomfortable zone, which is going to destroy your companies. So you're the problem. So what I suggest you do is go find other business partners over here, over here, over here, so they can help you with your fire that you have within you. And this is the same problem that he had with his business partners, and he had to learn the hard way. So that's about it. That's about it for as far as personal wise.
Dude, that's
Just
so
realized I was,
good. That's so
and I
fucking
don't
good.
realize I was muted. I was just sitting here listening.
That's so good. I mean, I want you guys to take that in. I think, as far as me, as far as I'm concerned, the one thing that I took away from that truly is you have to understand that you got to meet people where they're at, not where you want them to be, not where you are. And if you try to do that, it is a recipe for failure, because people are only capable of understanding truly where they're at. That's it. They're here, you're here, and you need them to be here. It doesn't freaking matter. Life has to happen. Shit has to go wrong. Growth has to be required, not by you, but by themselves. So, dude, I love that. Meeting people where they're at, understanding that you got to let people take the time it takes. That's huge. And one thing that's really critical about that is understanding that there's other people out there who are where you need your partners to be. So instead of trying to take someone and force them to become something they're not ready to become yet or ever at all, it is okay to just go out into the world and find someone who's already there, because there is someone who's living in that moment, living in that phase, that level right now, who is absolutely ready for it. So that's huge, man. But Marlon,
What's really what's really interesting is, this is kind of cool. It's funny how this whole thing is going to come full circle, and I'll explain what I mean. Sam earlier had a realization that time in the business didn't necessarily dictate where you are on the ladder, that you can come in and essentially put yourself and position yourself wherever it is you deem that you belong. If that's at the top, a person like Sam will put himself at the top. He doesn't need 10 years of working up to be a partner, working up to be this level of individual. He can just come in there because that's the value he adds. So he's aware that these people, these unicorns exist because he himself is one of the unicorns. And so Alejandro having that lesson of recognizing, hey, I can't just drag these people to become unicorns. I got to go out and find those next unicorns. And Alejandro, you mentioned something. So Sam had something inside of his life that's beneficial for Alejandro. Alejandro had something inside of his life that was beneficial to me. When I look back on this year, Alejandro spoke about the sacrifice of change. And when I sat and reflected on 2023, what personally I found to be the most difficult challenge, it was stepping away from what I knew and what I had committed myself to for the last 3 years to ultimately pursue what I'm in love with right now. And this was scary because I spent the last 3, almost 4 years really dialing in real estate. And I'm going to be specific here, learning about how to wholesale, learning about how to buy and hold, learning about how to fix and flip, learning acquisitions, learning sales, learning lead generation, learning how to build out this entire business model. And I figured out how to do that. And I started to create traction doing that thing. And that thing wasn't gelling with me. It wasn't in alignment with me, but it was making me money. And I was now finding myself in the same position that pretty much 95% of the population finds themselves in, with these golden handcuffs. You got this thing that sustains the lifestyle that you're now used to living. And although it's no longer what you want to do and you want to go off to do something else that would give your life more meaning and more purpose, it's scary to step away from a good thing. And earlier this year, I found myself struggling and juggling and being in between, and quite frankly, half-assing and not showing up fully for 2 businesses. And it was being reflected in the results I was producing. It was being reflected in the way that I was feeling day to day. It was being reflected in the fact that I was internally waking up with almost this sense of anxiety that no one else knew about except for me. I would find myself waking up already stressed out, already anxious, and only my close friends even knew. Everybody else in the world saw me as still happy-go-lucky. Everything is on top because I'm closing deals. Let me be the first to tell you that making money does not necessarily guarantee that you're going to be happy. Now, still go out and make a lot of money. Please make as much money as you possibly can. But money doesn't necessarily equal joy. And so it wasn't until actually I had the conversation inside of our mastermind, inside the 1% mastermind, Sam, that one afternoon where all of you guys inside of the mastermind called me out on it and said, yo, quite frankly, what are you doing? Sounds like you got imposter syndrome going on and you're holding on to an old identity. So the biggest challenge I had this year was holding on to my previous identity that I'm a real estate investor. I invest in real estate, but that's not what I identify as in this chapter of my life right now. Right? I want everyone to understand this. I still buy properties. Next year, I will buy more properties. In fact, next year, I plan on buying. I'm not going to actually share this part with people yet. I'll share it after it's done, but I'll be buying a lot of things next year, a lot of assets. So I'm still an investor. I'm still an entrepreneur. That is absolutely a part of my makeup. But at this season in life, I'm not identifying myself as a real estate investor. And that was scary because that was a big change. That was a big change I had to go through. And to be able to admit it, not just publicly, but more so admit it to myself and adopt that new identity, that was a challenge of 2023 for me. That personal internal rebranding. But because I went through it, here's what's really interesting. Because I was able to fully adopt the brand change, the idea that, okay, my new identity, I am the high performance coach. I am the top high performance coach. I am the guy that you call when you need to get yourself right, when you need to put a person back together and accelerate their growth, accelerate the traction that they're receiving in their business, in their life, in their personal and professional life. Give me a call. Put me in the room with them. That's my identity right now. And when I was able to finally adopt that and really make that transfer myself, it allowed me to help others make that transfer as well. So having that same level of courage that I can speak about till I'm blue in the face, actually going through it, the act of actually living through my own turmoil, living through my own turbulence as I made that shift, ultimately allowed me to be able to serve other people better. So I'm sharing this with everybody right now because as you're rolling into 2024, some of you might still be holding on to some of your old identity. Some of you may still find yourself being loyal to an identity that served you 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. The behaviors, the habits, the friends, the relationships, the knowledge, the skills, the things that served you in a past season of your life may not necessarily be the equipment you need stepping into this new season. And so just like how Sam had his mentor in that season who served him well, but now in this new evolution, in this new season, it's time to actually pull away because that same mentor that was pulling him forward is now acting as an anchor at this season in his life. The same way Alejandro recognized, hey, there are certain things that I need to change. The same way I recognize there are things I need to change. I want you all to sit and really look at 2023, reflecting, asking yourself, what maybe am I holding on to that I'm giving loyalty simply because I've given it this much time, but it's no longer serving me based on me having clear understanding of where it is I want to go. So that was for me my big recap for 2023. That was like I got a whole journal page inside of my like personal journal where I dove into this, man.
Bro, Jesus, that is so good. Like, and honestly, man, we just spent the entire time just going over the 3 personals. I think next week, we may have to go into the 3 recaps of the business side, right? And a lot of the stuff's going to translate over, but I think there's so much more to dive into. And I think by the end of the year, the last week, we may want to do like kind of this is how we plan for 2024. But I want to say this, man. I remember that 1% mastermind call that we had about that, just kind of pouring into your business. And I think we said something to the effect of you doing this and you solving this problem is the reason why you won't make $1 billion here. And I think that, guys, what I want to really kind of hammer away is that a lot of you guys have friends, but very few of you have people who will actually tell you the uncomfortable shit you need to hear. The stuff that we all run away from internally, the truths that we run away from internally. You need your friends there to tell you. You need your friends to throw it in your face and make you confront it. Because the last thing we want to do is confront reality sometimes when reality's hard. And the fact is, Marlon, I've seen you do that, man. And I've seen the launch of the Facebook group, and I've seen so much of what you're doing. And you're speaking on stages all over the country now. And it's not as Marlon, the real estate investor, that's Marlon, the high performance coach, who's also probably the most badass mindset guy on the planet. And so I want to commend you for that because, dude, Alejandro said this earlier. He didn't say it exactly this way, but this is how I took it. In order for you to reach another level, a new season, it's not that you have to change. In my opinion, you actually have to kill off an old identity. That version of you has to die for a new version of you to be born. And that shit's not easy, man. So I commend you in doing that. You're a guy who's big on phrases. And I historically have not been big on phrases or lines or phraseology. And it's something that I've picked up from you is now I'm just always talking to myself. I'm like, damn, that was a banger. That's going to be the theme of the next year. Do you guys have going into this new year kind of a line that's resonating with you, a phrase that's sticking in your head that you think is going to give you some power or some goals or something? If you guys want to, could you share that? Because I think it'd be amazingly helpful.
Yeah, I'm going to share mine because it's funny. I've been saying this for the last couple of days, like just around the house, very jokingly. I haven't really been thinking about it as a phrase, but really over the last 2 weeks, I don't know why I picked it back up. I don't know where I heard it again. I know the first time I heard it was maybe like a year or two ago, but recently it just bubbled to the top of my head. And before I tell you that phrase, I do want to quickly piggyback off what you said, Sam, about having the right kinds of friends. I want everyone to know this. When I'm talking to Sam about an idea and Sam starts being too nice to me about the idea and like starts delivering critique in like such a pleasant way, I'm like, all right, I got a shitty idea. Like this is just a terrible. When Sam starts like being too nice to me, I know it's a terrible idea because Sam always delivers it like real and true. And I appreciate that so much that when I come to him and I get feedback, it resonates. And I want to simply remind, like, I just feel, Sam, this is like on my heart. I don't know who needs to hear this tonight, but I just get this feeling that somebody needs to hear this right now, is that sometimes we will ask the world, we will say, Sam, please give me feedback. I can handle it. Alejandro, please critique me. I can handle it. And that person starts giving us feedback and they start critiquing us and it still hurts. And I like to let people know when you ask a person for feedback and you ask them for a criticism, it's the equivalent of me saying, Alejandro, Sam, guys, I'm ready. Punch me in the face as hard as you can. Yes, I'm asking to be punched. Like, I'm not going to be upset when they punch me, but it doesn't mean the punch won't hurt. But I do understand that I'm asking for the punch because it will strengthen me. So as you're asking your friends, as you're asking the people in your life for that criticism and that feedback, understand you can only take so many punches to the face at once, and also make sure they know how to not knock you out when they swing. So this is going to be a delicate dance because criticism is critical to your growth, but just understand how to absorb it in proper dosage. I geek out about this because obviously I'm a coach, so I have to understand how to be able to deliver in a level that's tolerable in a way that the person isn't overwhelmed and completely destroyed. But I just want to say, like, Sam is one of those people that when I need someone that needs to give me like some hard dosage, like, and I don't need a soft approach. I need, dude, get me right. Help me get there faster. Help me not waste 3 years. Help me figure this out immediately. Sam's my go-to guy for that. So now, Sam, as far as the phrase, I just had to say that because I felt like someone was needing to hear it. The phrase, shut up and do the work. That's it. I've been saying that to myself nonstop for the last couple of weeks. And I will actually just yell that at myself. Shut up and do the work. Period.
Damn. That shit hits. Dude, there it is. Alejandro, what about you, man? Fuck, that's so good.
I'm trying to think of a phrase. I don't really have a phrase put together. I would say,
is there a mantra? Is there a mantra that you think is going to be important for this next phase?
Yeah, well, this is something I go with. I use all the time is, and I talk to people every time, is expect the worst, but hope for the best. That's my phrase. I truly, truly do go by that. It's and it's going to be hard for you to understand that, you know, because I'm a big believer in laws of attraction. So you have to understand, you know, when you believe in, oh my God, this is going to go great. Yes, yes, yes. Vision it, whatever you want to do. I expect the worst because the only thing that gets you in the depressed mode is the incorrect expectations. So you don't give it power by expecting the worst already, which will give you a very steady focus mindset. For me, it does help me. It helps me stay focused. And in fact, I think my business partner calls it like, dude, you're so paranoid. I'm like, hey man, they say the paranoid guy lives longer than the other one. So I'm okay being paranoid. So it's like expect the worst. And this is what's crazy when a lot of people, I don't know where we getting this stuff from, Sam. I'm sure you get a lot of people like reaching out to you. Yeah, man, I want to do some, I want to get into this business and, I'll give it 90 days. Every time I hear that, bro, I get like this weird thing down my spine. I'm like, dude, where can someone show me, guide me where there was anyone that's been successful for a generation within 90 days? Where does that happen? So anytime I hear that stuff, it's like, dude, you're expected to quit. Your expectations is to stop at 90 days. You already failed, so why should I invest time with you? Oh, I'll give you 90 days. No, sir. When I left my 6 figures a year job, I said, this is my only choice. This is my only choice. There's no 90 days. There's no a year. I'll give it 5 years, 10 years. This is my only choice. If it's my only choice, I will do everything that I can to succeed. If I give it 90 days, then I will only do a 90 days worth of work. But how much can you learn within 90 days, my friend? How much can you learn? So expect the worst, hope for the best, and go full on, bro. Don't come over here with that 90-day, 12-year goal mark and expect to quit if shit doesn't go your way. Please keep that energy over there. Hit somebody else up, please.
Dude. All right, I think I'm going to be the last one to cap us off. We're already running a few minutes over. I'm going to say this real quick to give you guys some context. A lot of people come to me for advice. And a lot of people I'm in networks with, I'm in circles with. There's very few people that I yell at. Very few people that I tear into. And what I've realized about myself, guys, is that whenever someone comes to me for advice and I give them very nice advice and I'm not passionate and I'm not like just tearing into them, it just means because I'm giving them advice. I'm giving them advice. When someone comes to me with a problem and then I realize that I'm not losing it, but I'm being passionate, I'm tearing into them, I'm yelling at them, I am just ripping them apart because they need to hear all these uncomfortable truths. And what I've realized about myself, Marlon, is that when I do that, I'm not giving them advice. I'm telling myself what I need to hear. And they're just the vessel for it. And out of one of the people that I tremendously, tremendously love, one of the very few people that I'll ever feel passionate about enough to even have the time to tear into, I was saying this to this person, and then I realized that I was actually just yelling it back at myself. And that's important. And it's going to be the theme for a lot of 2024. And that is straight up, this is the phrase, require more of yourself and require more for yourself. That's going to be my theme.
Bro, I honestly tonight's one of those rare nights where I feel like taking this conversation so much longer. Maybe it's because like I have energy tonight. Maybe it's because like I've been eating and getting my protein in. Like I don't know what it is. Maybe like it's because like I ran 40 miles with Andrew last week. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I think we're probably guys. Like, let me know in the comments. Actually, this is what I want to know. Do y'all want to see us continue the conversation? And by the way, that's not a guarantee that the conversation will continue tonight because I got no idea what Sam's schedule is. I got no idea what Alejandro's schedule is. Also, what up, Mac? Shout out to you being here in the chat. And also, I saw Gammy asking about if we buy seller finance deals. Of course, we buy seller. Yes, we buy seller finance deals. Would we pay over market? Only if the terms made sense. So the numbers, the math has to math is my long answer short. But put in a chat. Like, do you guys want to see us? I mean, people are saying yes, they want to see us go a little bit longer. So you guys do me a favor, Sam, Alejandro, put in a private chat if we can go longer. I don't know if we even have time tonight, but while they're putting in the chat if we can go longer, I do just want to say something about what Sam just said, which is, let me go look at the private chat real quick. Ooh, they're giving me, they said I got 5 minutes. They said I got a couple of, I got even more than 5 minutes. All right. So we got a little bit of time. So here's what's interesting. So real quick, actually, because we're going a little bit longer, let me ask for something first. I've learned that it's important that when you give, you also need to ask. And I want all of you to be okay with asking for things, because if you don't ask for what you want, congratulations, you will be a part of the mediocre many. I need you to join the exceptional few. So what I'm going to ask for here tonight is quite simple. If you're getting value right now, if you've already gotten value up until this point, and you know that now we're about to deliver a little bit more sauce, because I'm actually excited even more than I was at the beginning of this call right now, do me a favor and share this out right now with 3 people and then comment done. I want you to actually share the YouTube link that you're listening to right now, whether you text it out to a friend, whether you share it on your Facebook, whether you share it on Instagram. In fact, if you share it on Instagram, tag Sam, tag Alejandro, tag myself, because I want to be able to say thank you for helping to grow this podcast. So if you tag us, it would give me the ability to know who's helping us grow this, because we cannot do this alone. We do not grow in a vacuum. So we need to be able to have people helping out, and that's you guys. So I appreciate you guys for that. Comment the word done after you're done sharing it, and you can listen as you're go ahead and screenshotting and pushing this out. So Sam, you just said that a big part of this is really relying on, like, asking more of yourself, demanding more from yourself. And Sam, one of my favorite things to do is when I get a good book, I'm an avid reader. I will take usually about 4 or 5 books for the year, and I will actually come back to them periodically throughout the year. And one of those books is the book that is in everybody's library. It's the first book in the purple library, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so I'm back on this book because that book started my journey way back in October of 2019. And as I'm revisiting the book, Sam, I'm finding myself listening to Mike's dad, Rich Dad. I'm finding myself listening to his advice again. Because remember this, everybody, for those of you that feel that you're not where you should be yet, because you've been on this journey for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 6 years already, keep in mind that Robert Kiyosaki was being mentored by his rich father for well over 20 years. Well over 20 years before he started to have the sort of success that you all feel should come so quickly and easily because of the doom scrolling you do on social media. And so Kiyosaki's Rich Dad started to remind him of this simple idea that he says, listen, Robert, when I earn money, I pay myself first. And your poor dad, he pays all his bills first. And Kiyosaki said, wait, should I not be? I'm confused. Are you not wanting me to pay my bills? He said, no. I want you to pay attention to the sequence. I pay myself first, and then I pay my bills after. Even if I'm short on money, I always pay myself first. Because he said this. He said, Robert, if I don't pay my creditors, who do you think is going to scream louder at me? My creditors or myself? He said, well, if you don't pay your creditors, yeah, of course, they're going to scream louder. And he said, and that's the thing. Most people, if they don't take care of their responsibilities, if they don't pay themselves, if they don't demand of themselves excellence, they're not going to hold themselves accountable enough. So I'm not going to chance it. I make sure I pay myself first, and I allow this external pressure to actually get me to hurry up and grow, to get me to become more creative, to get me to figure out the next solution, the next innovation. So to hear Sam talk about how this year in 2024, as he's rolling into it, he's going to be looking at demanding of himself even more, because he already goes out and serves the marketplace at such a high level. to demand of himself even more. This is what's needed, because that's the truth of entrepreneurship. The reason building a business is so difficult, the reason building a business is hard freaking work. And building a business, do not get it twisted. Building a business is hard. It is probably one of the hardest things anyone will ever do. And then selling it, we're talking about even tougher. And so what makes it so difficult, among many things, is not that you're managing all these other people. It's that you have to manage yourself, and there is nobody to come and correct your mistakes. There is nobody to tell you to get out of bed tomorrow morning and do it again. There is nobody to co-sign your vision for the first couple of years when you're the only person that can see as far as you can see. In fact, I got a video that's going to be dropping in the next probably 3 or 4 weeks. It's going to be a YouTube video that's going to be dropping. And really what it talks about is the steps of belief. And there's an important factor when you're talking about creating as an entrepreneur. There's going to be a certain time frame where you are the only person that sees your vision. There was a time where Sam was the only one that saw his vision, that saw it as clearly as he saw it. And the scary part is when you're the only one that sees it, no one's around to co-sign. You have to rely entirely on your gut. Being an entrepreneur is hard. I'm not telling you this so that you don't do it. I'm telling you this because if you are listening to anything we said tonight, we have clearly stated that doing the hard thing makes you better. So do I think I'm better than people because I'm an entrepreneur? No, I don't think that. I know that. I'm joking. All right? I'm joking. But honestly, it is hard work. It's going to be more and more difficult to find good company, to find good friends, to find good people to go on this quest with you. And that's why we show up here every Tuesday night. That's why I'm a little excited to hang out a little while longer, because I understand that us having this conversation is putting a fire back inside of somebody tonight, that we're charging your battery back up, that we're filling up the gas tank so you can go and make it another week. Because the way to win this game, Sam, how does someone win the game of entrepreneurship?
Oh, it's so good. They stay in it.
They stay in it.
That's it.
So, guys, I appreciate you all for hanging out later than usual on this Tuesday night. I appreciate Victor and Anthony and Donabella and Ronaldo and Wayne and Elena and everyone that came on here. Thank you guys for sharing the podcast. Thank you for being here, being active in the chat. And I really want you guys to connect with one another inside of the chat, connect with each other offline as well, because these are your people. This is your community. These are the other like-minded individuals that understand the struggle of showing up day in and day out, knowing that seeds are being planted, and you might be in that season of, I don't see it yet. You might be in that season of, it's not here yet. You might be in the season of, shut up and do the work. And it's helpful to have other people who are in that season with you. So, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Unless my friends Sam and Alejandro have anything to share, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to close out tonight. Thank you for being here for episode 59 of the Think Big podcast. If you're new here, go ahead and hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment. Next week, when we come back, we did the personal recap of 2023. Next week, we're going to do the business recap of 2023. And I'm excited to actually share with you. I had some epic failures this year in business, right? Like some failures to the tune of, being out $50,000. And it's not millions of dollars, but still, it's a sizable chunk of money. And I want to share because there are lessons in there that can be applicable to y'all so that ultimately you don't have such a big loss in your business. You don't have any level of loss that kicks you out of the game. So, guys, we appreciate you. We're wrapping up, and we will see you back here next week for another episode of the Think Big podcast.